Good morning, class. Today we're going to talk about how to do a detailed drawing of at least one part. For today, we're going to go over 2.1. That's the name that I have for this drawing. It is the one where I talked about how to make a rib. There's another video on that, how to add ribs when you can't use the rib command. That was that video. Today, though, we're going to talk about how to do the detailed drawing for this in Solidworks. So first off, you have a drawing on the one side of the image that you're working with, and on this side to the right, you have the actual 3D file. I'm not going to go through what it took to make it. That's another video. It's already been done. When you want to create a detailed drawing, the things that you have to do, one, what did I say in the beginning? Make sure you have your dimensions. If you don't have any dimensions in your base geometry, this is the one where I left a bunch of junk on there just to mess with everything. If you do not have dimensions in your base geometry, you will not have any dimensions in your detailed drawing to work with. Again, if you do not have any dimensions, like here we have the dimensions, remember? Told you do not delete your dimensions. Now, you can intentionally position these dimensions out in a nice format. Okay? Trust me, whatever format you have for your dimensions in your base model, you will have the exact same format in your detail drawing. So if you remove your dimensions from your base model, you get nada on the dimensions in your detailed drawing. So, yep, which is bad. You're absolutely right. We take a Ferrari and drop. Oh, I got a little error. So I did something wrong. Not sure what it was. And that also will happen. So I'm going to edit that. So I must have accidentally deleted something. Don't know what, but if you ever get this, it's like an OD green color. Delete it, that's fine. Okay, it's back. For some reason, the circle, that's easy enough to fix. We're going to co-radial. Again, that's no big deal. And then, done. Still has an error. Still doesn't like something. Warning. Fine, let's go ahead and edit the sketch. So what's the problem with the sketch? Shouldn't have any. Should just okay out of it. Could not find a face or plane. Okay. So we're going to edit the plane and pick the face. Hit OK. There we go. Now, cool. Everything's good to go. Whenever you do a correction or a change in your model, make sure to also, I call it the traffic, looks like traffic lights in the top of your screen. Hold on, let me maximize this. See about, not top middle, but top, I don't know, by the gear area, if you look up here. It says rebuild. It looks like traffic lights. Go, no go is what that refers to. Just make sure to rebuild your part. Make sure everything's copacetic. Then we can go back to what we're here for, which is making the detailed drawing. Also, this was done correctly in the sense that it was oriented properly, respecting the cube, as I like to call it, the isometric cube. See, the two match each other. If you built your part upside down, backwards, all that fun jazz, that's also something else you're going to have to contend with on the detailed drawing. So how you build it here directly correlates with how it's going to appear in the detailed drawing. It's the first thing you have to understand. Before you can even talk about a detailed drawing, you have to ask yourself, is my model in the proper orientation for what I want to do to it? Building it correctly is best. If it's not built correctly, then you'll have to finagle with it in the detailed drawing. So in this case, this one's built correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and go to make a drawing from part. Again, let me show you how I did that. When you go up here, you have a set of options that you can click down. See that? You can, if you have the visual icons. If you move your mouse, let me maximize this real quick. If you move your mouse to the Word Solidworks in the upper left corner, you actually get the drop-down menus. So you have a choice in how you can see everything. See that? So when you see me jump up here, that's what's happening. Or I can do it this way. It's up to you. It doesn't matter. It's a preference, a personal preference. Okay, so if you do it this way, you click on the little icon, you get the three options. You can make drawing from part or make assembly from part, a slash assembly. Or you can go over here and you have file, and you'd have to scroll down a little further. Make drawing from part. So I don't care which way you do it. So make drawing from part is what we're trying to do. Again, this now really matters. Inches, pounds, seconds. Dimension standard. If it's a metric part, you're going to pick ISO. If it's an inch part, you want to pick ANSI. Now remember, the default is always ISO because this is, internationally speaking, most people will see ISO-based drawings, and on top of it, they'll be in metric. But in our case, this is an inch drawing. We're doing it here in the States, so we're picking ANSI as our dimension style standard. If you have metric drawings, which you have as assignments, all of those have to be based on the ISO standards, not the US standards. All of them have to be first angle projection, not third angle. This is a third angle projection drawing because it's in inches. Just remember that. You have to remember those rules. When we hit OK, it takes you into this wonderful place where it's asking you for sheet format. A size sheet is 8.5 by 11. B size is 11 by 17. C size is what? 22 by 17 times 2, which is 30 something. 34. Okay? You see how I did that? Because remember how sheet sizes are. If you forget, the internet's a beautiful place. Sheet sizes, you will see a little bit of history. Not that I want to teach the history of paper, but it's a little neat conversation. Metric paper, the A1, A3, A0. You see how it's all basically how the paper is cut up. So if you ever wondered why, how did the paper sizes come to be? Well, it's the same reason as mine, usually for being cheap and lazy, right? Is you take a big sheet of paper, you cut it in half. Now you have 2 sheets of paper. Take each of those, cut those in half, and now you have 4 sheets of paper, yada, yada, yada. Got it? So in our case, that's where the sizes come from across the board, whether it's metric or inches. It's literally just taking one large sheet and slicing it down into half, 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 half. So 8.5 by 11 paper is the smallest size in general for for inch drawings. And visually, you can see that right here. It's a nice visual paper size. The history of paper. Not getting into this. I'm just trying to show you. There's lots of little ways of looking at paper, but it's literally take the largest sheet you can produce and then keep slicing it down. That's where the different sizes come from. So 2 8.5 sheets of paper make B-size paper. 2 B-size papers make C. Okay. 2 C's make a D. Nothing like grading, mind you. See that? 2 A's and you get a B? What do you mean by that? Right? All right, bad humor, run amok. 2 D's make an E, and there you go. So that's where the paper sizes come from. So when you look over here, back to here, that's what they're showing you. A, B, C, D, E. And then the metric ones, A0, A1, blah, blah, etc. When you are doing an inch drawing in ANSI inches, you will pick A. Annoyingly, and I have to say this to you up front, when you're doing a metric drawing, you still will pick A. Because the printer in this room doesn't have A0 paper in it, or A1 paper in it. Get it? So our printer settings are to the ANSI standards in this room. So you have to follow the standards of the printer that you are working with and the paper sizes you are working with, regardless of what units of measurement you are using on the drawing. Please make a note of that. Many times a person will use the wrong, no, not the wrong, they'll use the paper standard based on the units of measurement that they're using on the drawing, and then the outcome is they can't print it because their printer is set to a different paper size. And then they're wondering why nothing will print and things are erroring out. That's the reason. So your output printer is what dictates which size you select here. Please keep that in mind. In our case, our printer in this room goes with A size paper, which is 8.5 by 11. Nice part is it shows you that information right here. B size shows you right here. C size, I didn't have to do the math, which I did wrong anyways. It's 17 by 22, so I did the wrong math. So correct me on that one. See, what did I do? I did 11, what was it? 11 by 17. Then I said, then I take 2 of those. Well, I messed up. It's just 22 by 17. I didn't have to double the 17. D size is the one that's 34 by 22. If you do the math, you'll find out they all are basically halves of each other. Back to A, we're going to do landscape. That's the general format we follow. Yes, at some companies you will have portrait, depends on what you're doing. Don't worry about it. In our case, we're going to go with A-size landscape, which is just a cross. When it comes to the border, we're going to basically clean that up next. When you hit OK, that opens up. What's really neat, the first time into the drawing, you actually get the options to drag and drop your views. The views that you see here are the default views based on what I said earlier. However, you orient your model here. However, you orient your model here. Keep that in mind, please. Over here, whatever orientations I had for my model, whatever options I have here are directly correlated with the options I gave myself based on how I built my model. So if things are not working perfectly for you, the first question that you should ask yourself is, how did I build my model? Because it does directly affect you here. That's why I say you have to respect the cube. When you're building your model, respect the orientation that you want that model to be in, because it directly correlates to your detailed drawing. So my front view here is exactly what I want it to be, my front view. It works out perfectly, and you see me saying it in quotes in class. Those of you online don't see me do the little air quotes here. It's perfect because the model respected the cube. Now it's tiny, that's another conversation. That has to get fixed, but don't worry about that. That's next. Now what's neat is after I drop my first part, if you move your mouse around, all of a sudden you get to see all your other views. I'm not clicking, I'm just dragging my mouse around. Yeah, it's true. I can get really lazy. I can throw my isometric in here all of a sudden. I can throw any presentation. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. If I would recommend just dropping the front view for the purpose of this project, of this exercise, because in the homework that I assignment, what I actually told you as far as the first one, you're going to do a full sectional. You're doing a full sectional. See that? For the other ones, you're doing flat patterns, half sectionals. You have a whole bunch of other things going on. So for this part, we're going to do a full sectional as your section type. So if that's the case, I don't want you to put the side view because that's where my sectional is going to go. I also don't want you to put the top view because I'm redundant in my views. I don't want to do that either. Okay? When you had hand drawing class with me, I told you guys, be lazy. Only put as many views as you need or as few views as you can get away with. Get it? If I could get away with a one view drawing, I'm doing it. In this case, I can get away with a 2-view drawing. One is the front view and the other one actually will be the sectional view. I know products like Solidworks, Inventor, all of them can allow you to become lazy or sloppy, not lazy. I'm going to say sloppy for this one. Because you can add views all day long, and I can have 100 views for something that only needed 1. Don't do that, please. Okay? Just because I can put a view in doesn't mean I should. You still want to follow the rules of dimensioning and drafting standards, where I only put in as many views as I need. So don't put extra views just because you can, because it takes 2 seconds to do it. That's what I will call sloppy. Don't do it. Okay? And remember, everything you're doing in class is for the purpose of your portfolio. So that when you go to the interview, boom, you have your digital portfolio or you have your physical portfolio. You want it to sell you. So make sure you're thinking that way. In industry, we do not put extra views just to have them there. No. It's a waste of time, paper, everything. Customers get confused, whole 9 yards. Keep it simple. We apply the KISS method to what we do. So in that case, the only additional view I would probably say is throw in the isometric. That's it. It's always nice to have that in there. And that's it. You're done. Don't put any more. Once you are done, you can either hit the big green checkbox in the upper right corner, or the green checkbox in your drop down, what do you call this, menu options on the left side. See that when I put my mouse over the green checkbox, it says OK. That's why you'll hear me always say hit the OK button, because that's what it's called. Now, of course, I'm going to drop this in where it belongs. Annoyingly, you have a title block that like totally owns the paper. You see that? So your next step should be to thin the herd. I don't need that much content. So this is how you do that. On the left side again, where you have your model tree, pick the sheet format, right mouse button, edit sheet format. Click on that. Now you're actually editing the title block itself. Okay? The title block. That's what this is called, the title block. I'm basically picking everything on the left side and getting rid of it because I don't need it for the purpose of this drawing. I'm selecting these items the same way I would in a model, because now you're actually in a sketch. I go over to sketch, go ahead and trim, pick the bottom trim option. It's my favorite one. Trim off what I don't want, hit escape. I don't need the date, get rid of that. They're not ghosts, but what they are is like title information. I get rid of that. You don't see it, but that's like a box of content that's based on what you input for your model. I'm going to clean this up a bit more. I'm going to drag this down, and it's literally like your a sketch, because that's what it is. It's literally a sketch. You can create a description if you would like. We'll leave that in there just for fun. But the key things that you want in here is the drawing size, the scale. We don't have a weight on this guy. And if you do a revision, like let's say I give you back your drawing and say correct it, there's something wrong on here. When you give it back to me, you want to make sure that there's a revision assigned to it. We'll talk about that a little later. First, let's put in the basics. We're going to OK out of this thing. Here's your basic model. Now, one of the things that you always have to appreciate is the customer wants to see what they're buying. So they want the model. So don't make it a postage stamp. Okay? It's too small. That is physically too small. It's got a center mark in it, which is nice, but you want to drag those out because the rules that we typically follow incorporate having this external to the part. Next, scale. The scale of this is too small, so I want to edit the scale. So I click on it once, and to the left you have options for what you can do with this. Let's say you didn't want this view, you really wanted the right side view. Has been changed. Depending drawing views will be affected. When you hit yes, boom. See what it does when you start messing with that? Yep. It warned you. Okay, so just be aware of that. Everything is changed in tandem with each other. So everything is in sync. So when you scroll down a bit more, you have mirror if you want to do that. You have import options. This is where we talk about your annotations. We'll talk about that next because there's another way to do that. I'll show you. Display style. This is something that is annoying about Solidworks, so anyone who works for Solidworks hearing this video, would be nice if you fixed it. The default setting in Solidworks is not to show hidden lines. which for detailed drawings is essential. Those of us who are builders must see the hidden lines. The default in Solidworks out-of-the-box default is hidden lines removed. You must turn this on. You need to see hidden lines. Hidden lines visible should be the default setting in every single CAD product for anyone listening to this video. Please fix that. It's really annoying to constantly tell people to fix that. And companies don't like it either. At least the companies that hire students, the number one complaint they have that when I talk to them is like, I don't know why they keep doing the drawings wrong. But when you hit that, notice what happened to the isometric. What does isometric have? Now it's got a whole bunch of hidden lines in it, right? We'll fix that in a little bit. Scroll down some more. Projected, true, as far as the dimension type. Scale, use sheet scale. Well, the sheet scale was 1 to 2, so that's why the model is 1 to 2. Half scale. So we could fix the sheet scale, but we don't always know what the sheet scale is going to be. So many times we ignore the sheet scale. And what we do instead is we pick use custom scale and we change it. Now keep watching what's going on to that isometric. I'm going to change it 1 to 1. See that? You're like, wait. My isometric like starting to take over my drawing. Hold on. Am I really stuck with that? Oh, don't worry. We're not there yet. We'll see. So you can change. Where was I in sheet scale? You can change.
It's right there. It says use
Custom scale, but did I just miss it? Yeah, I did because I selected both. Okay, let me get back to this. Sorry. You have custom scale 1 to 1 for this item. Now, if I click on this item, that's what happened. You can click on the isometric view, and when you scroll down, this item, I don't want to use the parent style. See that? I could just turn that off. I want to use an independent style. And then on this particular item, I want to use sheet scale. I want my little image to be petite and out of the way on the side. That's where it needs to be. I don't want it to dominate the drawing. What I need to dominate the drawing is what the customer wants to really look at, are the details of the thing that they're trying to purchase, whoever the customer is. All right? That's how you fix that. But you notice how you click on them and you can independently adjust each view. In this case, I have 2 views. One is the isometric and the other one is my primary view. So keep that in mind. Again, the way to do that is you click on the isometric and basically you turn off the scale references, okay, and you're no longer using parent style, and you can use sheet scale if you want, or you can say use custom scale. Everybody's different. I don't care which you pick. Custom scale means that this view is independent of whatever you do on this sheet of paper, which is actually nice. So that's everybody, that's a flair thing, whichever way you want to go, your choice, a personal choice. So I'm going to put my isometric view off in the corner. I've got my primary view here. The next thing I want to add is go into my view layout. And of all things, I want to add a sectional view. When I click on sectional view, I have some neat choices. What kind of sectional view do I want? A vertical one, a horizontal one, a auxiliary sectional view. We'll cover that in a future project. And an aligned sectional view, which are the views I absolutely despise because they're not technically, visually accurate. We use them in our world all the time because they allow us to convey a lot of information with a minimal amount of drawing views. That's why we use aligned sectional views. Now, when you pick it, the next thing it wants to know is, hey, where do you want me to cut this thing? Now watch, if you just randomly select a spot, for those of you that are mouse happy and you do this a lot and you like to click all the time, you will end up with a mess. So don't do it, please. This is when you hear me say, get your hand off the mouse. Stop, take a deep breath, and move to the center of the object. When you click once there, okay, it's going to ask you, what do you want? Well, I'm in the right spot, so I just hit OK. And voila! Isn't that gorgeous? It creates the sectional view for you. Now, it literally cuts through the part exactly the way you would on a bandsaw. That is what you have to appreciate. That is exactly how a sectional view works. When you want to change how it presents itself, down here, you have the choices. Partial sectional, sliced sectional, see that? Auto hatching. Does all these different things. I'm going to try to show you off on the side here. See that? That's a partial sectional. Turn all these off for a minute. Partial sectional. Slice sectional actually eliminates the back line, which is absolutely horrifying. Don't do that. You leave a normal sectional view like this is the best way to do it. Surface bodies. See this? If I turn this off, take out the surface body reference. Section depth. I can do this if I want to. If I have section depth, come on. Okay. Let's say drag it over here for fun. And preview it. This is your preview. It won't let me because I'm not. That's all right. I'm going to leave that one off. Traditionally speaking, for now, for today's conversation, you want to do a basic sectional view. You want to end up with something like this. You're not going to be totally happy with it because you're taught in, you could drag it back where it belongs. You're taught in hand drafting to do what? If you have a rib, what are you supposed to do? I'm going to move that out of the way for a minute. If you have a rib, you don't hatch the rib. But here in CAD, you got a rib, and it's hatching right through it. My 10.5 cents to you, if you want to make life simple, is you do accept this reality. Now the question is, do we have enough room? What's in my way? My title block again, right? See that? If I can get away with, I'd rather keep this 1:1 scale, so I'm going to wipe out the bit of this title block. Sheet format, right mouse button, edit sheet format. I'm going to wipe out the title. Drag that down here. Sorry. It is subjective what I just did, because I don't worry, I'm not going to worry about having a title in the drawing. If you must have a title in your drawing, then I recommend you change the scale of your model. I'd rather change the scale, I'm sorry, I'd rather keep the scale 1:1 and change the title block. That's what I just did. Because what's the scale of the drawing? Yeah, that's you're correct. So if I go back to sheet, not sheet format, not sheet format, not sheet format. Sheet format is to edit the title block. Sheet, however, okay, when I go to the properties of the sheet, that's where the scale is. So I can change it there. It's also set to third angle projection, which I want. Apply the change, and now the scale in the title block changes to whatever the scale of the drawing is. I can also, if I wanted to double click over, or just single click over here and leave this now back to use sheet scale, because now it is 1:1. But if you do change the sheet scale of anything in your model, you're going to have to identify a tag. Like this guy, see how it says section AA, scale 1:1? Because it's true, I can have a different scale for my sectional view. All right? So this is a drawing that presents in the default settings without any extra effort to present it with the ribs in its true sliced presentation. I'm asking you to leave everything as is because I need you to be aware that this will happen. The things that are missing are your dimensions. They need to get added into this. But your teacher's lazy. So how do you do that without a lot of work? You go over to annotation. You go over to annotation, the tab called annotation, and you have two dimension choices. I know you're going to gravitate, like everybody else does, to smart dimension and start manually dimensioning it. All right, you've taken a Ferrari, taken out its engine, took off the tires, and now you're running it like AutoCAD. Stop doing it. If you remembered what I told you, leave your model dimensions in your model. All the smart dimensions you used in your model, then delete them. When you click on model items, you can actually select the views. Okay, import items into all views if you want to. And you have the option to, what am I going to import? You can import everything. The only thing that it doesn't do well, you cannot, let me do that. You cannot pick the whole call out information, or you have the whole wizard profile. You have to toggle between the two. Personally, I prefer the whole call out. That's a personal choice. If you had any annotations that you included in your model, like finish quality, for those of you doing finishes for CNC, and if you had any GD&T tolerance symbols or whatever, you can include all that, or any weld symbols for those of you in welding. Any reference geometry you want to include, everything is here. When you hit OK, it will literally, whoops, what did I forget to do? No model item was inserted. Choose yes to change import from option to entire model. That's what I missed. When you hit yes, it literally does go ahead and import all the dimensions exactly where they were in your model. Now notice I pulled this out here so you could look at it without any clutter. See where all these dimensions are? Okay, let me flip over to my model. No joke. See where all the dimensions are? Let me see if I can split screen right here. See that? I know. You want to do too many things. Yeah. Okay, stop it. Okay. That doesn't want to. Give me one more second. Technology, fail. Okay, I'm going to scooch this over just a little bit. There you go. See this? See where that 0.5 is? See where it is over here? See where the 2.5 is? See where the 2.5 is? Literally exactly where you put them. No joke. Yes.
Follow like normal dimensioning?
Nope. So next, for those of you that know that, okay, I got to maximize this, sorry. For those of you that know about the dimension standards, I did something bad. Hold on. All right. I think when I opened up the other part, it wants to edit what I did. So give me 1 second while I refresh, rebuild. All right, let me hit save. And they are, you see how they're interconnected to each other, the model. I went and edited the model, so then the detail drawing started going foobar. Those are the kind of things that will happen. The two are connected to each other. If you do this correctly, somehow I managed to mess this up. Nothing new. I'm good at this. All right, let's try this one more time. Hold on. If this happened, I did it to try to show you what was going on, so of course I messed up. So my view is missing. It's there, but it doesn't see it anymore, probably because I was trying to edit it in the model literally at the same time. So if something like this happens and I tried to do a split screen thing, it got upset with me, and I ignored the warning messages. Did you notice I just X'd out of them? So that's what will happen. So let me see if I could reclaim. Yeah, there's nothing to reclaim. Solidworks is relatively unforgiving when it comes to some of this stuff. So I'll open the part. Let me see if I just save it. close out of the part. Nope, didn't want to reclaim it. That's all right. It's easy enough to rebuild it, which is annoying. I'll delete it. It's going to want to delete everything, which is fine. It's not a big deal right now to just bring it back in, just so I can move forward on the detailing. But if you do that, by the way, it automatically drops all the views, which is what I just did. Let me show you real quick what I did and why that happened. When you go to standard 3 views and you go find the part, it'll drop in the standard 3 views. That's literally what I did. If I go to model view, open up this, and have to refresh this so it sees the views, then I can drag my view back in. Okay? Just the nature of how the software works. I'm going to do my sectional view again. That's the easy part. Hit OK, drag it over, done. Next, I went to annotation. Model items is what you want to do. Import items into all views. That's good enough. I hit OK. It's going to say, hey, instead of import from option, change it to entire model. So watch again. When you go to model items, instead of selecting features, I say entire model. That's the only reason I'm getting that error. When I hit OK, it'll literally drop it wherever you drop the dimension to begin with in your model. Did you hear that again? Okay, very important to know. The ribs were defined here. See that? That's where the ribs were defined. Here. The diameter information was defined in the side view, right here. But you'll notice the spacing is relative to however I did it in my model. Anytime you use Hole Wizard, you will have the annotation of that Hole Wizard. That's why I use Hole Wizard, so I can avoid extra work in my detail drawing. It is showing everything to do two decimal places, but as you can tell, the spacing is horrible, right? From those of you that had engineering graphics, we're going to change the spacing. Here's the neat part. As you move your mouse on the dimensions, you'll see that it wants to lock into little spots. You'll see it like click over, click over. That's not me stopping my mouse. That's it doing that. If you move, if I keep moving my mouse, you'll see how it like snaps into positions, right? Those positions are the settings that are in the software right now. For the purpose of learning, I'm going to make you change them to different settings. So when you are in annotation and you drop in your model dimensions, there you have your dimensions, but I'm going to tell you the spacing is bad. See that? The other thing I find annoying is when it does a pattern. See this little number 4 that's kind of orphaned out here? That it was literally stuck in the middle there. That says how many ribs there are. It doesn't incorporate it into the extrude because it was done as a separate operation. So that's something I wish they would fix, but not today. So you do have to edit the note to incorporate some of that information. But if you double click on it, you actually are not editing the note. What you're doing is changing the actual dimension of the rib. It is the actual dimension of the rib. So if your customer comes back to you and says, I don't want it to be 3/8, I want it to be 1/2 inch, you can actually edit your model from your detail drawing if you are using the model items. Remember that. That's why I tell you over and over and over again when you're working on your model, don't wipe out your smart dimensions in your model. If you do, you're literally taking the brains out of your model, and you now no longer can control the model from your detail drawing. So if I change this to 0.5 here, it wants to be updated. You see how it's got all these hatch lines everywhere. When I update it, It literally changes the width of each rib. And it changes it in the model, not just in the detail drawing. Use the power of the software. Do not strip it of its power by taking the model dimensions out. All right? In our case, I'm not changing the model dimension. What I want to do is add to this dimension more information. So when I click on the dimension, not double click on it, just single click on it, it activates its dialog box on the left side that I can go down, and where it says dim, then I could say after that, for quantity 4 equally, all caps, whoops, quantity 4 equally spaced. Anything wrong with what I just typed? Oh, there's a couple of things wrong with it. I agree. One of them is it started burying itself inside. Anything else? Okay. One of the things you'll have to learn to do very well when you are working with CAD products. Not all of them come with.
Okay.
Yep. Not all of them come with a spell check. You do not want to present to a future employer a drawing with a typo in it. Not a good move. So it will, whoops, sorry, I wasn't supposed to do that. It will not tell you when you've spelled something wrong. Got it? No spell check. So if I just did that, QTY is a traditional shortening of the word quantity. But if I click out of this thing, hit OK, I'm not. Well, if it changes spacing, you can select up to that. Okay, I'm not. You'll notice it did not. It gave me like a message thing, but it did not alert me to, hey, you spelled equally wrong. Okay, so make a point of checking your work for spelling. See how it bounced right inside again? That's the default setting that it wants to be. And you see how I keep pulling it elsewhere? But the minute I touch it, I change. I keep hitting. I double click by habit. I'm sorry. Whatever you change, the minute you hit OK, it bounces right. I didn't change anything. That's why. Hold on. Let me change something. Let me misspell equally again. See how it bounced down? Okay. Expect that. It's annoying. So what you have to remember to do is work with your settings for your dimension style. So where do we do that? Okay. Quick method. If you have the icon options at the top, your options option. Sorry, I know that sounds wrong, but see a little gear? Like in most products, the gear means I'm going to tinker with the settings, right? The other method is if you like the Word version, where it's File, the drop-down, Edit, View, Insert, Tools, Window, Help. When you go under Tools, you got to scroll, come on, all the way. It doesn't want to move. Let's do that one more time. Tools. You got to scroll all the way to the bottom to find options. Okay? Cool. See that? That's why you saw me say I'm just going to pick on the little gear. So when you click on the gear, you get a whole set of dialog options. In these dialog options, you have two sets. System options, which are related to how the system physically works. Drawings. Display style. Area hatch fill. Performance. Display style, the default setting is hidden lines removed. I would recommend you change it to hidden lines visible. Okay, because the default setting is hidden lines removed. I don't make the rules, I just have to work with them. Colors, if you wanted any colors, if you don't like the color of your background, all that fun stuff. Sketch, different things about your sketches. Display, how things are displayed. Selection, performance, assemblies. I mean, you can literally go down the line, all the different items that are related to how you look at, how you drive the product in general. Whoops, hold on. I think I may have clicked too many things. Now it's upset with me. Oh, yeah, it became upset with me. Yep, there you go. Okay, yay! I have a recording of a crash. Okay. Hang tight. All right, we're back to normal. Okay, that was just a whole wizard trying to find information. File Explorer, import, export, all of that. General is just your basic settings. Under drawings, okay, the display style, the area hatch, and performance, those are things that are useful but not for today's conversation. The next tab, okay, this is system options, which is how you drive the product in general. Document properties is specific to the drawing you're working on. Please remember that. Annotation is referring to your arrows, how you want your arrows to look, how you want balloons to appear, datums, geometric tolerancing, locations. I mean, you can get pretty detailed, obviously, because remember what I've said before. Devil's in the detail, and we live with the devil when it comes to CAD work. All the details are all here. Borders, you can affect how your border looks, and what we're talking about today, which is dimensions. In here, you set your default settings for all your dimensions. So if you don't want everything to be to 2 decimal places, you want the default to be 3, done. Got it? That's it. And the minute you make a change on here, it's called ANSI modified because it wants to create a new dimension style. Those of you that have had AutoCAD with me in the past, when I talk about dimensions, I make you create new dimension styles so you can go to refer to them all the time. So that way you don't have to recreate styles every single time you do something. That's how you drop it. So if you want a dual dimensioning, you include it. Fractional display, you can identify how you want your fractions to show. Leader length, you can identify how long you want your leader length to be. Okay? Leading zeros, do you want any leading zeros? Do you want it to say 0.125 or do you want it to just say 0.125? Trailing zeros. If I had 0.125, let's say I wanted my drawing to 6 decimal places, but the last 3 decimal places for the dimension I drop are just zeros. They don't have anything. It literally, it's 0.125. So instead of showing 0.150000, if you wanted to show those trailing zeros or truncate them, that's this. Arrows. That's that neat conversation you guys have had in the past with me. I'm going to intentionally have you change these for the purpose of learning to change them. Okay, so I'm going to require that your arrows are 0.125 in length. Okay. This piece right here, the 0.25 is what is the minimum distance, the length. That's fine. I'll leave that at 0.25. Arrow height, though, I'm going to change it to 0.0625, 1/16 of an inch tall. Now, I'm cheap and lazy. Recorded again for the 5,000th time. Instead of doing a filled arrow, I don't want to keep buying toner. A filled arrow requires more use of the toner in the printer. I'm going to pick an open arrow style. So it uses less toner, so I expect you to pick this one. If you were an architect, I would have you do the ticks. See this third option right here, the tick? Architects will do a lot of dimensioning with ticks, because I did architectural work as well. I like the ticks. I don't like drawing arrows. But if I'm going to draw an arrow, I'm going to tell you to draw that one. Keep it simple. Okay? Open arrow uses less toner. So if you do a lot of printing, you want to use less toner, that's how you do it. Just pick open arrow. Very straightforward approach. Next, offset distance for different annotation views. I'm going to leave those alone. Breaking dimensions, leave that alone. Extension line gaps. Okay, gaps. Gaps, gaps, gaps. Extension line. Remember what the extension line is? It's the line extending to the object. You're in class, see me visually moving my arms, my left and right arms, toward the object I'm dimensioning. Those are the lines that extend from the dimension to the object I'm dimensioning. The tapping you guys are hearing online, that's me hitting the monitor on the side, which is where the speaker is attached to. Sorry. The gap for the extension line from the object is going to be 0.125. I want that dimension line, the extension line of my dimension line, not too close to my object. Beyond dimension line is going to be the exact opposite, 0.0625. Okay? Now, back to annotation here. Annotation views, remember this? Okay, I want my first dimension to be half an inch away from my part. I want every other dimension to be 0.375 away from the first dimension. Every other dimension when I'm stacking them. The default spacing, you see that? I went ahead and manually changed, right there, changed them. Offset distances, 0.375 for the dimension between dimensions, right? 3/8 of an inch. From the object to the first dimension, I want half an inch. Those are the rules I'm asking you to keep. I'll leave the screen open for a second for those of you that want to take a quick picture. As I see you guys pulling out your cameras. Go ahead. These would be the settings I'd like you to use. I'll require them. It won't be a polite like, it's a requirement. Do it that way. For those of you listening online, this is literally how you can set up your dimension standards in your drawings to whatever your company expects them to be. Okay? And that way you'll have them. What's nice is once you make these setting changes, then your dimensions do snap. When you're moving your mouse up and down, do snap to these settings. Which is nice, because then it makes drawing, a detailed drawing, correctly more, with standards, more easily, okay? So now I'm going to hit OK, because I got to get out of this. So the two of you, are you done yet? I'm going to photobomb you. All right, we're done. I hit OK. Now, when you move, now you see how this dimension now is 0.500, because I set 3 decimal places. Now the dimensions are literally, what? Half an inch away from the part. Now if I move this up, it wants to snap to that position. If I want to be picky and see, hey, did it really do what I wanted it to do? I'm going to tell you to print it out. Okay, this, see, snaps out to the half-inch mark. This dimension, that's the half-inch mark. That's the 3/8 mark. See that? Done. This dimension still snaps to the different angles. Just be as picky as you want there. This dimension now, if I drag it up, that's the half-inch mark. Okay, now the annoying part is you want to move this, don't you? See how this moves in and out? It doesn't move up or down. If I drag this up, see that? Watch what happens. Drag it down, see? You're actually grabbing the arm. For whatever reason, they don't give you a grip point. If you take this grip point, this is all you can do with it. It is really annoying. Got it? When you, okay, let me try that one more time. Click on, there you go. Click on it. It doesn't go up and down. It only goes left to right. Got it? Okay, that's what that grip does. I know it's annoying. You actually have to grab near the intersection to drag this around. I can't answer the question why it does that, but when it does do that, you'll notice that it wants to update. If I drag this a little further down, every time whatever I do when I move it, and I hit OK, you'll see your other objects turn into little hatch, hatch looking. You see that little hatch, orangey hatch thing? You have to update your drawing. Because when you affect this, it thinks that you're affecting what you're cutting. So if you accidentally drag this into the part, you hit OK and update your model, watch what happens. I lopped off a chunk of my part. Why? Because that's what you did. Your section line is now inside your part. Okay? So drag it back out. Cool. When you drag it back out, update, again, traffic light I like to call it because that's what it looks like. Update it. Boom. Everything's back. Please make a note of that. This dimension does fight with this, which means I don't want it there. I'd want it above, or I'd be dimensioning another item. Okay, here's the annoying part. If I delete this dimension here, and I want to say, look, I really want you, instead of picking entire model, I want to just select this feature right here. See what it did? I selected the feature, and the gosh darn thing popped up here. Because the first rib we put in was the one on top. That's the reason. All right? So if you want to keep it a power dimension, meaning that I can use it to drive, that's why I call it power, because I'm driving with it, a driving dimension, let's use that word instead. You have to leave it there. Okay? I've had students literally do this and hit OK, and then they're like, yeah, that's fine, I'll just go smart dimension it and manually dimension it. Nope, that's not what you want. Smart dimension from here to, come on, there you go, here, and drop a dimension out here, hit OK, and then it appears grayish. Why is it grayish? Remember we talked about that in the other side. Because it's a driven dimension, okay? It doesn't drive anything. It sits there, it's a passenger. So when you double click it, it does nothing. It's just there. I recommend you not doing that. Okay? It doesn't mean you should go and change your rib in your model. It's not what I'm suggesting. I'm just suggesting you appreciate why your model item insists on jumping to that position, and just accept. I'm not going to like the way to say that, because I know some people don't like that. Accept that position if you want a model that can be driven by the detail drawing. That's the caveat. If you don't care, I don't care. It all depends on the purpose of what you're planning to do with this. Yes, it's visually annoying. 100%. So the question is, do you drag it out there or do you drag it inside? You know what? There's no good spot for this. What you can do is drag it outside. And then what can you do with this guy? Double click on it and kick him out. See that? See what I just did with the arrows? Double click on the little nodes and they kick in. Kick out, kick in. I would at least kick him out. Nope. Double click with your left mouse button. Click, click, there you go. Once you've activated it. I know exactly where I'm going, so I'll double click immediately. So for me, it's like a double click. It's a single click once you've activated. I should rephrase the way I said that. Sorry. Single click if the nodes are on. One click to activate it. The second click is to affect the node. Cool? So I would kick out the dimension. I would space it appropriately wherever it needs the space, and that's it. I'm done. That way the dimension and the cut line don't fight each other. Yeah, I'm tweaking it just a little bit. Presentation's everything. You want it to look good. Because the ultimate goal is that this becomes your portfolio item. I see that number 4 is hanging out there. That's probably the only thing I would delete. The 4 is the quantity. It is driven. Watch. Okay, hold on. Let me zoom out so you can see the effect of what I just did. That 4 is a driver. When I double click it, that's how many ribs. When I pattern it to the circular pattern, if I type in 5, watch what happens to the drawing. It wants me to update it, and now I have 5. You see that? Take the 5, make it 6, watch what happens. Same thing. Take this, change it to 3. Go the opposite direction, update it. So I can update it inside if I want to as well. See that? Holy cannoli. 4, update it. See that? Isn't that cool? That's cool, but at the same time, that's why I don't like the way they did this, where they made it so that it's this weird number hanging out there in La La Land. Can't fix that. So if you want to keep it off the model. Keep it off the drawing, because it's kind of like a stepchild sitting in there that's kind of out in midair. It doesn't really have a place. So if you want to bring your isometric, in this case, by the way, you really need the isometric in here to prove the point that this part is not a solid part. So I have to ask the question, what should we do? We can rearrange where this is located. That's the easy part. But should we change the sheet scale? Or change the scale of the model? So it doesn't matter where I put it, per se. The reason I'm trying to tuck it in down here somewhere. This is why, by the way, when you look at drawings from the marketplace, they're like all over the place, because look how easily it is for me to just rearrange this thing. I really want this out of the way. I might have to sacrifice the scale and drop it, despite my interest of making this 1:1. Thank you. I don't want 1:2 either. To keep it to the maximum size, I'm going to go to the sheet. Come on, you. There we go. Go to sheet, right mouse button, properties. I'm going to change it to 3/4. Hit apply changes. It does drop it. It'll probably look a lot better, and this should fit in here. Now I can't have them fighting each other, so I'm going to drag this over. The little dude right here, the 4th, keep him out there somewhere. Then this changed. Obviously these changed. Do they keep their position? Let's find out. Hold on. There you go. It wants to lock into the right spot. All you got to do is drag it around just a little bit, and it'll lock in naturally to where it wants to your settings that you gave it. Everything's to 3 decimal places. If I wanted everything, there it goes. See how it wants to keep it here? You see that? And I want to drag it up here. I also want to drag my cut line further out. So I have to update my part. What can I do to fix the number of decimal places? Where do I fix that? I forgot. I could do it individually. If anybody wants to say that, the answer is yes. I can go over here and change my tolerance, so I can on the fly change it just for that item, right? But we're lazy. Plus, you really only use that feature when you want to have a particular item at a different decimal place from everything else on the drawing. If I want to change them all, I go back into my system options, go to document properties, under dimension, change my primary position to 2, precision, primary precision, dual precision, I'll change that to 2 as well, and I hit OK. And voila, that's what you get. Cool? This is what you'd want to turn it. The way to turn it in is you're actually going to print it. For our purposes, you'll actually literally print it, because you want to take a ruler to it. This is your first time ever doing it, and you want to check the spacing of those dimensions. Okay? Because that's what I'm going to be doing. But at the same time, you also want to send something to to PDF so you have a digital copy for yourself. So please make sure to do that. Okay? These you're going to turn it on paper. Yeah, this is the only time I'm asking you to print. Otherwise, I don't want you to print anything because I despise wasting stuff, including paper and everything else. So you'll notice in your print settings, this is because this will be the first time you actually print to something. When you do that, you have the option. Current sheet is what you normally print. System options, margins, you leave those alone. The margins are the settings that you have, your printer margin settings. Number of copies, we're only going to do one. Print background, we're not. Print a file, print crosshatch on out-of-date views if you have that. Print white lines, text in black. White lines, text in black. White lines, text in black. Okay. There's a reason I repeat that over and over and over again. Do you see this? See where I'm moving my mouse? You see how that's a solid color? You see here, diameter 0.88 through all? You see how that's gray-ish? Okay? I will do the following. I'm going to print to PDF to show you what's going to happen because I don't want to waste paper. I'm going to not have that on, and I'm going to hit OK, and I'm just going to dump it. Can't spell. Sample PDF drawing. I'm going to hit enter. I should have that sample PDF drawing. Now the question is, where did I put it? Remember where you save things? When you open this up, you will see all your text the way it is presented in the screen, which includes whatever is a light shade of gray, whatever is a driven dimension, will appear in gray. And you're going to say, Ms. Harris, I don't want that. And I'll be like, well, when you go, I have people try to change the color here. Yeah. Really, all you got to do is when you go to print, just pick that option. When you hit OK, and you open that one up, uh-oh. They changed it. They used to print all black. Okay, that's my fault. See, it does look the same. That's my mistake. Let me go back. What did I forget? I love it when this happens because this is an opportunity. Print white lines, text in black. So what did I miss? Print background, print the file. Line thickness. I could go into line thickness, but that's not what I want. I might be forced to go into annotations, standard. This one I'll have to look up. So I'm going to leave this one as a open-ended question to you guys. How do I fix that? Okay? Oh, well, how do you fix it? I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to say, how do you fix that? That's what I'm going to leave you with on this video. How do you fix that? So when it prints, it does not print this way. Because either of these cases, it will print. Even though you select print white lines, text in black. So the question is, how do you change that? And leave that as a question for you. Okay, we're going to hit OK. I'm going to cancel out of this. We're going to save this, and that we're going to complete this conversation because we're actually out of time. We're going to complete this conversation. For next class. That ends this video. Yes, I know.